Well, welcome back. The last episode we had a little hard time getting the speed reference sensors out. This time I'm just going to take the bracket off with the one stuck sensor. I already loosened it on the last video. We took the car off the lift, but this time it's already loose, so I should be able to get it fairly easy. And I'll show you what that looks like. This has to be adjusted when it goes back on. It was actually missing a bolt. If it's not adjusted correctly, you'll have too much of a gap between the sensor and the... Well, we'll be right back while I pick up that part. Well, I found it. Appears I had the dropsies today. So we'll try it again without dropping it. Let's see if I can get back in there. Okay, it's just a 6mm Allen head bolt. And like I was saying before I dropped my tool here, there's a shim, not a shim, there's a adjustment slot that you have to adjust this to. I forget the spec. I think it's 0.02 of a millimeter clearance. If it's too much of a gap, the car can be hard starting and not run very well. Okay, there's the bolt. Simple, another Allen. Socket head, cheese head, and it's on a dowel pin and it pivots. The dowel pin makes it stick a little, or a lot. I need to pry it off with a screwdriver. All right, just give it a little nudge. I see what's happening. There's not enough room for the bracket to slide out with the sensor still in place. So what we'll do, when we take the bell housing off, we'll take that with it. Then we'll separate the pieces, put the bracket back on when the engine goes back in, and then we'll do our measurement. But that's a long time from now. Anyways, we can go back up now. We're going to take the bell housing off and we'll take this bracket with it. And I'll show you what I mean, why the bracket wouldn't come off. Okay, see you underneath. Before we take the bell housing off, I do need to lock the flywheel because I want to remove the front crankshaft pulley. That's going to give us a little bit more clearance in the front. Can't do that with this off unless you get an impact gun on it or find a better way to lock the flywheel. We have a flywheel lock tool. This is one that's used at Porsche. This just goes in and locks the flywheel through the starter hole. And we're just going to put that in there. And I just have some random hardware that I use where that I just keep it all in the same place so I don't have to use the starter hardware. And we'll just get this in. So when you do the timing belt and the balance shaft belt, you need to lock the flywheel at one point to break that loose anyway. So you probably should get one of these if you're going to do your own work. I haven't used it in a while. Okay. Okay, now I can just tighten this up. Okay, that doesn't have to be all the way tight. This bolt, the head of the bolt is 24 millimeters. If this was a 928, it'd be 27 millimeters. That wasn't too bad. I can do the rest later. I can take the belts off. If they're not too tight, I could probably get the pulley off with the belt still on, but yeah, let's see what happens. Let me get a ratchet on that. Okay, there's the bolt. Looks like might have been blue Loctite built up on there. This is a very unique washer. Make sure you don't lose that. It does go around the crankshaft, and if you put a flat washer on there, the pulley will stay loose. That's not good. Let's see if the outer one will come off. Oh, that's a big no. Okay, we'll deal with that later. I just wanted to get the bolt broken loose so we can get that out later, so I don't have to worry about locking the flywheel later. Now, these are 12 millimeter bolts that have a 19 millimeter head. We're going to try, we may not have the right angle with this. The engine does move enough, maybe I can get into position up here. It's also a little too tall. Need some light. I like these because it's not like the chrome ones that can go 90 degrees. So you have a little more control with them. And I need all the control I can get. No, it's binding a little bit. Even though the angle is still too great for this and it's binding. But it is loose. Let me try something else. I lowered the car a little bit so I get my hand up there. The bolt has already been broken loose and it's not real tight in the threads. So I'm able to use just a small ratchet and get up there to take the rest of the, I don't know if you can see that up there. This is really the worst one because of the angle. And just get the rest by hand. My steady hand, that is. There's one. I can break this one loose. And before we get all the bolts out, we're going to remove this cross shaft. Hopefully it's going to come out. I'll explain that when we get there. And there's one over here. They're breaking loose pretty easy. And the threads, I think these bolts have anti-seize on them. So that's good. Coming out fairly easy. Here. Wow. Plan B. We have a wobble extension so we can get a little bit of an angle on this. 1/2-inch drive breaker bar. Hopefully we can get it. No. Yeah. Plan C. Wobble extension. Impact swivel. 19 millimeter socket. That fits on nice and square. There we go. Well, that's all. Because I didn't have a plan D. Now that the bolts, everything's loose, I know it's all going to come off. I'm going to get this cross shaft out. This shaft is what actually allows this, the fork to pivot. It's a machine shaft and there's bearings inside the fork that ride on. Really nice design. The problem is over time, if you don't have to do a clutch and this just never gets taken apart, when you do have to take it apart, this shaft can be seized up inside the bell housing. It will not come off unless you get this out. There's nothing you can do except cut this thing open. I haven't had to do that yet. So I'm hoping this will come off. There's a lock bolt here. It just puts pressure on a flat spot on this shaft. 8mm by 1 1/4 thread pitch here. Just put a bolt in it and you can pull that out if it comes out. We'll see. Okay. If it doesn't come out, there are ways. You can use a slide hammer on this bolt that I'm going to put in there. You can actually heat the case, try to break it loose. Normally they come out, but sometimes you got to fight them. I haven't had one stuck that bad yet. This is just to help. Just grab it there. Okay. There's a lock nut behind the bolt, and then we can loosen this. Yeah. It's been out recently, I think, so it shouldn't be too much trouble. Oh yeah. Oh, look at that. If you keep pulling, it jams. So you want to hold this centered and just kind of work it out together. There we go. We're going to replace this shaft. You can see the wear marks from the bearing. They're not too bad. We'll have to look at it. I'll clean it up and see if it's salvageable. I think it's okay, maybe. Yeah. Some rough spots, but we'll see. When it goes together, we're going to inspect everything. Now we'll just continue on and remove the bell housing. The big reveal. This is really in my way. I'm going to take that off. I'm going to take this line off. Now I know it's going to drip, so I'm going to grab the bleeder cap off the rear caliper. There's one back there, and when you take this off, you can just snap that on or prevent it from dripping. It's still in pretty good shape. Yuck. Now that is if I have room for this. Yeah. And we just snap that right over there. See that? It works when you take the lines up. Well, these are larger lines, but the smaller lines, they work. This is junk. Okay. Now. Luckily, this has been off before. These aren't too bad to unscrew. Okay. They are different lengths, so just watch the length when you put them back in. Okay, are we ready? Everybody's out. Get this line out of the way. That'll be replaced too because this rubber on the top is rotted. All right, let's see what's in there. Or do you want to wait for the next video? You want to do it now? Or wait? Now? All right, we'll do it now. Now remember that sensor, okay, that was easy. That sensor bracket is still up there, and it's going to want to come down and hit me here. It's just good. Oh, we're crooked now. Oh boy. There we are. All right, there's the fork. The fork grabs the back of the throw-out bearing and it pulls the throw-out bearing. And it pivots on that shaft that I took out, as you could see. And there are the bearings in the fork. Usually in pretty good shape. We'll take a look. If we have to replace them, we'll drive them out and put new bearings in. Looks like this is all fairly new. Or recent, not new. And here is there's our sensor housing. The D, remember, is the sensor that picks up the speed. This is the speed sensor. With the engine running, you can disconnect this. It doesn't need it anymore after it's, I'm sorry, no, it needs this. It does not need the reference. The B. The B sensor you can unplug after the car starts, and it won't matter. Sometimes when you're diagnosing these, you drive the car, and sometimes it won't start, and then sometimes it will. It's usually the sensor or the connector. If you're driving and getting bucking or other problems, it would be this sensor or something else causing it, but you wouldn't have to worry about this sensor while you're driving, so save you some diagnostic time. This one has the aluminum sleeve in it that covers the entire sensor, sort of gives it a ground shield. You can see the sensor sticking through it. The sensor's not rotating, but the top is, which tells me the wires are probably broken in there by now from trying to get it out from the connector down into the wire. It's full of wire. It's wound like crazy. So we'll have to work on getting that out, and we'll replace that sensor. I don't know if I made any sense with that, but these are also triple squares. We'll take those out and get the clutch cover. We call it pressure plate, clutch cover, and the flywheel will come off. All right, we're going to break these loose first before we put our broken gun on there. There's 9 of these bolts. Actually, I'm not going to be able to get the gun up in here anyway, so wow. The grip surface of these are very, very shallow. If you don't have it in square, they're easy to strip out. I do have one trick I'm going to use. This is a good trick if they're not completely stripped out, but they kind of feel like they're going to. This is just some valve lapping compound you can get pretty much at any auto parts store. I'm just going to smear that in there. It helps the tool bite. And hopefully it'll come out without stripping. Give it a little tap. Yes. Gives it a lot of bite. That works great with the socket head bolts that I showed you earlier. But these are so shallow, these are very susceptible to stripping out. Come on. Come on, we're on camera now. Oh no. Yep, it's stripped. Well, we gave it a shot. Well, I'm going to have to drill that one out or attempt something else. Well, since we don't care about the bolt anymore, we're going to try to drive a Torx bit in there. I don't think this is going to work either, but it might. The banging also helps loosen it a little bit. All right. Let's see. No, that's in there really tight. Okay, these are 6mm bolts. This is a 1/4" drill bit. That's 6.3mm is 1/4". I gave this bolt 2 chances to come out. Now it's going to see some wrath. My wrath. The wrath of Russ. Well, I'm going to have to turn the engine a little bit. 1 second. Okay. So we rotated the flywheel a few degrees. This should come. Nice nice sharp drill bits. All right, we'll take the rest of them off, and that should pop right off. Okay. We might have to help it a little bit, but that should pop right off. If not, I'll get a bigger drill bit. Just so you can see how shallow, I don't know if you can see it, the tool only goes in a little bit. So if the tool is worn out or you're using old bolts, they're more susceptible to stripping. So I always replace these bolts so they're always nice and fresh. This one is a little too fresh. Too fresh. Not nice. Not happy with that bolt. He's on my naughty bolt list. He made me very cranky. You can't hear me, but I'm mumbling profanities under my undertones here. Trying to make me look bad on camera. He will pay the price. I think I'm going to leave him outside to rust. Ooh. Tight. Not going to take that one all the way out. I think we've got everybody, because if that pops, it'll just drop. So let's see. There it is. So the last bolt. There we go. Oh, we have a nice racing clutch. Oh, we might have to reuse that. Looks worn. Well, we'll see. We'll see when the time comes to put it back together. I believe that's Kevlar. Now watch this. Watch this. All right, don't watch this. I thought the bolt head was just stuck, but it's actually stuck in the threads too. Let me grab it now. All right. If you have more than one, then you really can't use that trick by just popping it off like that with the pry bar. You'd have to probably drill them a little bigger, and then the head will come off. But with one, it's easy. Just use the pressure to pop it off. If you look, we have more triple square and very shallow as well. But these aren't too much trouble. These are 10.9s. They don't strip very easily. All right, by 10.9, I mean the hardness of the bolt. They don't strip very easily because they're so hard. But these are also shallow. If the engine wants to rotate, which it probably will, the best way to loosen these, to get a shot at loosening them, is pull over center. So if you're out here, you actually have a lot of leverage to rotate the engine. Up here, it's not as much. So let's see how this goes. Yeah, that's going to want to turn. Okay, so now to counter this, I have an idea. My assistant promised me he would be here today. Let's go in the same direction. But I think he's at the dog races. And I told him they don't exist here anymore, but he insisted to go anyways. Well, I need a shorter tool. All right. Just gentle taps. All right, that should be it. So now we're not pulling over center anymore. There's gonna be a lot more pressure over here. But I think I can handle it. Yeah. Okay, is that all of them? All 9, yes. Okay. I don't know what I was thinking. They never would have come out without counter holding this. So that's it, just little bolts. We'll use Mr. Broken Neck. Still working. This is our pilot bearing. This is where the tip of the torque tube goes in and maintains center between this and the transmission. It's going to stay with the crank. We'll replace that as well. There we go. Dowel pin to locate the flywheel. These are the reference points. One of them is not. I should forget how that works. But there's one, I think this is the reference point for top dead center, and these two are used for magnetic timing. It was a tool that Porsche had many, many years ago. Nobody uses it. It's a separate sensor that doesn't connect to anything. You might see that under the hood of your car. There's a connector with a rubber boot on it. That reads this as, for electronic timing to verify that the computer's timing is correct, which it usually is. Looks like we got some slipping going on here. A little bit cooked on the outside. Don't know why. Looks like it's been resurfaced. Nice. Well, more stuff to check. So, you saw the disaster back there. We got the clutch bell housing off. Sensor. We're pretty much down to nothing back there. I do want to get these, at least this pulley off. I'd still like to get this off. This is bolted on. It doesn't come off as easy as this outer one will. But I'm just going to show you how we change belts, and I'll try to get that off. Try to get that pulley off. It looks like it's rusted pretty well. If you can get the bolt out of this, if you don't do it this way, you have to loosen the two bolts and then turn this turnbuckle here and allow that. That's what we do when we put it all back together. But for our purposes here, and really if I'm taking the car apart, I just take this bolt out and I swing the power steering pump in to get the belt off. It just makes for a quick disassembly. Then I take it off, clean it all up, lubricate it, put it all back together. It looks like new. So there's the one, and just loosen this one. Well, I guess I could have gone this way. Okay. Once that's out of the way, you can just give a tug on the belt, and then the pulley will come off. Normally, if the pulley's still bolted on, this will swing in. That'll swing in, and you can get the belt off that way. But since we already had that off, we already had the bolt out, it came right off. All right, well, we made it this far. A few awkward moments there, but we got it. I think next video, I want to get the AC compressor out. We'll get the cover off, see what's going on behind the timing belt, because I want to make that as small as I can. We're going to get the condenser, AC condenser, radiator, the bottom, the radiator mount. I'll show you how that comes out on the top, because you loosen the bolts on the top, there's some pressure points up there. We'll get this out, all the stuff on the top of the engine that's in the way. We want to remove the turbocharger. That has the pipe, the discharge pipe on it. I'm sorry, that's the inlet pipe. That is very difficult to get off in the car, but it'll come off easy with the turbo. We want to take the turbo out anyways. That's bolted down to the engine mount bracket here. That's a very nice design. I'll show you that. Some plumbing up there that Porsche uses a brace across the front of the car, and it also has coolant running through it. The coolant pipes are all attached to it. They're welded, beautiful. Nice design. Porsche does amazing things. So very happy with that. We'll get all this stuff out of the way. I could keep babbling if you want to make the video longer, but we'll end it here. We'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching, and subscribe, like, please keep it going. We're 321 as of today, so very excited to get to 1,000. We'll see you next time.